Okay, sports fans, I am back. Yes, indeed. I'm really back. With some podcasts, new podcasts, I should say. I'm going to try to do these on a weekly basis now because there's just so much information that I just want to put out there to you guys. Some of it you may know, and some of it you may not. I think a lot of you guys may not know a lot of this stuff. You can say what you want, but I know 70s music, 70s English music. I'm pretty good at that. Um, and it was my thing. I love. To me, a lot of people gonna hate me saying this. I'm sorry, but I still think the 70s put out some of the best music ever. You can say late 60s because I think the Beatles and Free started like in what 67, 68, 69, but they by the time they hit the 70s, they were rocking. I mean, these bands were rocking. Um, I want to talk about my new CD out and give some insight on that. But first, I have to talk about this one song on Steppenwolf 7th. Now, Steppenwolf was one of my favorite groups growing up. I actually learned how to play drums. I think there was three groups: Led Zeppelin, The Who, and Steppenwolf. Is when I got my first $90 drum set. I'd sit up in my room and put the records on and listen to those guys and learn how to play drums. It's funny because I'd put on the Steppenwolf stuff and I would say, yeah, I can do this with a little practice. And I would put on the Led Zeppelin stuff and I was like, Steppenwolf second, I recall I used to work out to because I couldn't get the bass drum groove down to a whole lot of love. I'm like, man, what the hell is he doing? But some of it I could, weed my way through. But then I would put on the Who Live at Leeds, and I didn't know what the hell he was doing. I'd have to sit there and scratch my head. But I want to mention Steppenwolf because Steppenwolf had a great drummer, Jerry Edmonton. I don't know if I said this before, but he was such a great drummer that you could even tell it in the arrangements of the tunes. I like a lot of their tunes. He set up the changes just by doing a drum fill. And I remember reading somewhere where John Kay said that Jerry Edmonton was the best arranger in the group. And if you listen to their stuff, you could tell that, you could see that. As for me, for a drummer, I can. But I want to talk about this one song that's in my head. This happens to me all the time. Let me bring the CD up. Okay, the CD is Steppenwolf 7th or 7. Great CD, really great CD. The music is just like they went big time on that because the arrangements were so good. I mean, and Jerry Edmonton's drumming was just like over the top. He was always in the subdividing and changing up the groove and taking out the snare drum for a while, which I really like that. I like groups that do that where all of a sudden they might leave the snare drum out for a bar or two or four bars and then put it back in. Kind of gives it another little punch. And he was good at playing on the offbeat with the snare drum a lot. Doing things like that was really good. But I was listening to the CD, Steppenwolf 7th, a while back, and I was just thinking of classic rock songs. And there's a song on there called Ball Crusher. And I'm telling you guys, look it up on YouTube and listen to it. What a great tune. What a great 70s rock tune. The drumming was just great. It had a nice guitar thing. It was just a great song. And I was listening to it and I said, man, I got to make a podcast and talk about this song because it is truly a great song. But that's not the only good song on that album. That whole album, Steppenwolf 7th, if you like 70s rock music, you should pick it up because it is really, really good. There's some good playing, good songwriting, and good arrangements. Okay, Jerry, he's no longer with us. Sad to sad to say, but great drummer, great drummer. I learned a lot from him. He had that nice hi-hat groove that Simon Kirke that I like to think originated the open and close hi-hat while you're keeping time and playing the hi-hat at the same time, which is a neat effect. I love it. Okay, so now I want to talk about my new CD, The Whole Shebang. There's me on the front looking like I'm from The Wizard of Oz. It's a special CD for me because for a lot of reasons. Because this is my last rock CD for a while. I think I've got like 6 or 7 of them out, and I have one live jazz CD out, and I have a Christmas CD out with the Red Dog Band. But after my shows like 2 years ago, I decided I need to go play something else. So I'm writing some smooth jazz tunes, which I am not a favorite of smooth jazz, or should I just say I'm writing some instrumental tunes on the lines of smooth jazz, and I am actually working on those. Mario, I'll be calling you, buddy, so just stay by the phone. Now, my new CD, The Whole Shebang, what it was, or what it is, it's kind of a tribute CD to some of the groups that really influenced me a lot playing music when I was just starting this stuff. Okay, there's a cover song by Free, the All Right Now guys, Paul Rogers. And there's a song by Spooky Tooth, which is called Ocean of Power, which is one of my all-time favorite songs in the world. I mean, I love that song to death. I was just so glad that I was actually lucky enough to record it. The only downside of that is that both Mike Harrison, Gary Wright, and the original drummer Mike Kelly, who is also a phenomenal drummer who plays from the heart, and Greg Ridley, the original bass player, they're all gone. And I wish they could have heard my version of it. Jen Party, who's one of my partners, did a phenomenal job of laying down the vocals on that. She did it her way, which I first met Jen. She was playing jazz, and she did a little pop, but her forte was really jazz as far as when I first met her, these 15 years ago. Phenomenal vocalist, phenomenal. And I knew I couldn't do it like Spooky Tooth. I mean, nobody sings like Mike Harrison. I mean, he's got to be one of my all-time favorite singers, up there with Brian Howe and Paul Rogers, of course. But she did it her style. When we started recording it in the studio, I could see the way it was going. I'm all in there trying to lay down this Mike Kelly drum groove and stuff. And as we started playing it, I realized this song is going to take its own journey, meaning that it was the feel was going to go the way it was going. And Jen pretty much controlled that. I pretty much let her do her thing, and it was good. And I figured it was like a jazz rock version of Ocean of Power to a degree. And of course, George Spicker and Troy Kelly, Troy is an amazing guitar player. I treasure the time that I got to work with him. I don't think he realizes how good he is, but we don't listen to Troy. But he played great on this CD. Okay, so as I run down the songs on this CD, the first one is a song I wrote for Brian Howe. Now, a lot of people think of Bad Company with Paul Rogers. I mean, I know I've got like 40 Bad Company albums, about 10 or 15 Paul Rogers solo CDs. I've seen Paul Rogers solo twice, and I've seen him twice with Bad Company. I mean, John Mellencamp said it best. He said he's probably the best voice in rock. God knows a man can sing, there's no doubt about that. But when he left Bad Company and Brown Howe came on the scene, you got what I said there? But when he left Bad Company. Anyway, Brian Howe came in and took over as lead vocalist for Bad Company. And that dude just rocked. I was just like, wow, this guy is great, man. I just love him to death. I loved his first solo CD wasn't what I expected, but it was really, really good. And the way he approached the Bad Company tunes, I remember him saying, one of these disc jockeys asked him years ago, well, do you think you're a better singer than Paul Rodgers? And I'm just like, man, what a butthead. He says, we're just different. He sings the stuff his way and I sing the stuff my way. So this first song on the CD is called What Did He Ever Do to You? Was a song. My conscience forced me to write this song. Now, Paul, I don't want you to come after me with your hit man and stuff like that. All I know is what I read, what I seen. One line about when Brian Howe passed, which I was devastated. There was like some pun about, Paul Rodgers stating that he wasn't dead and he was here and he'll see you around. And I was just that, and I wasn't the only one that felt this way, but I was just, I was a little bit upset. It's like one of my heroes just like thrashing a guy that I like a whole lot, who actually, took that band, got that band out again, and they made a little bit of money with this guy. They didn't get along, but they made some great music. So anyway, when I seen that, my heart was broke, and I was just like, wow. And this song would not let me rest. This song had to come out. I tried everything I could to walk around it, but I just couldn't do it because I was so much a Brian Howe fan, and I was upset about that. That the way that they were treating him. Now, rumor has it that Simon Kirke, who's another one of those kick-ass English drummers that I love, it was a thing that the rest of the guys in the band didn't like Brian Howe for what other reasons. I'm not getting into all that, but it was just like I found out that later on that Simon Kirke, both, gave out condolences to Brian's family. I don't know if Paul Rodgers ever did. But the first song on the CD is a song that I had to write it. It's just something I couldn't just walk away from. So this is the first song on my new CD. It's called What Did He Ever Do to You? And yeah, it's like I said, man, don't bring the guys after me. But it was about how the other guys in Bad Company didn't like Brian Howe for whatever reasons. I don't know. All as I know is that they put out some damn good albums with Brian Howe singing, and I love Brian Howe vocals. I love Paul Rodgers vocals too. I'm not denying that. But Brian Howe is just like, I'm sorry that he's gone. I heard he had a wild life. I'm sorry about that. But he made some great music with Bad Company. The second song is Ocean of Power, Spooky Tooth song, one of my favorite songs. And basically, there's like 5 tribute songs. I like to think of this as my tribute CD, like I was saying earlier, because when all my heroes, started passing, like Alan Holdsworth and John Wetton in the same year. I mean, like, wow, that was hard to take, man. John Wetton and Alan Holdsworth was so hard to take. So I felt that I better write I better put out a CD, and give tribute to these guys to like as a thank you for all the music that they put out that inspired me to want to keep on writing and playing music. So the next song, Spooky Tooth, which is another one of my favorite groups, and all of the cover tunes on here are from my favorite bands. So there you have that. All except for the Paul Simon song, we did Bridge Over Troubled Water, but we did that as a goodwill thing for COVID was hitting really hard and stuff, and people were being shut indoors and stuff. So I asked Jen, let's do a song, record a song for COVID, because a lot of guys were doing it, guys and girls, musicians, because you couldn't play. All the gigs were shut down. So everybody started going online and writing and playing music and sending out songs. So we did that. So we did Bridge Over Troubled Water, which was a nice arrangement. I kind of like that. And then we did a Free song. Free is another one of my favorite groups in the world. I mean, those guys, Bad Company was good, but Free, that started with 1968. I think everything that they've put out, including the box set, including a lot of imports. Just what a talented band. And Simon Kirk's drumming he's another one of those guys that he just played from the soul. It's just great drum parts. I mean, just great. So I didn't want to, and doing these songs, this tribute CD, I made a point to go out of my way not to do songs that everybody knew by these groups. If I said I'm doing a Spooky Tooth song, somebody would say, "Oh, what are you doing? Evil Woman?" which was a big hit for them. It's like, no, I'm doing Ocean of Power. That was on the Witness CD. So that was so my point was to do songs that people weren't familiar with. So I did the Spooky Tooth song, I did the Free song, I did the Paul Simon song, and then I also did, of course, a Beatles song. I was lucky enough to see the Beatles when they came to Baltimore, Maryland in 1964. And to this day, I can tell you, I was only in the 4th grade, but if you put your hands over your ears to block out all the girls screaming, I can assure you, they sounded just like the records. Just like the records. 2 guitars, bass, and drums. That was it. And them singing. But they sounded just like the records. I was amazed. But I learned something from seeing them, that you can sound live just as good as you do in the studio, or like you do in the studio, because the Beatles were living proof to me way back when. So I did a Beatles song that I like. Which one did I do? I don't even know. I'll Be Back. I always liked that song. I'll Be Back. And I had Dennis Shockett, who sang a tune or two on my very first CD, and he sang that. And I got in the studio, I got to give it credit to Dennis, my engineer partner, Ken Hornoff, who was recording the session, was supposed to play bass on the song, but he didn't know it. So Dennis laid down all the guitars, the bass, and all the vocals. He did a phenomenal job on that, which he always does when I get him in the studio. Just a great job. Some of the songs that, the other songs are just songs that I had written for the CD. There was a couple of them that it started out as cleaning up the basement. I had all these songs laying around, which one song is called Sad, Sad Song. There's a video out for that song. um, that the guy Blaze Willing did a great job on it. He's my video man. This guy is so talented. It's actually, I think 5 of the songs have videos out to support this CD. If you go to John Turner 5858 or John Turner at 5858 on YouTube, you can pull up some of the videos from the CD. My favorites is actually I like What Did He Ever Do to You, Ocean of Power, which is one of my favorite ones. When Blaze put that together for me, I think me and my wife watched it, and I started to get a little teary-eyed because it was so good. He really captured what I was feeling when he did that song. And Sad, Sad Song, which he did all himself. I told her I couldn't get everybody together for the video shoot, so I said, Blaze, just go take it and run with it. And he did, and that's he did a great job. He did a good job. The thing about that song, that's one of those songs that had been laying in the basement for like 4 or 5 years, and I was trying to do stuff to finish this CD. I said I got all these songs that were half finished, so I worked out these arrangements, and then I had Troy come down to the basement, and he says, "Oh, it sounds like Santana." Well, I thought it sounded like Foreigner because at first I was doing the old thing where you drop out the bass drum in the first part of the song and you're just playing hi-hat and snare. But I could see where he said it sounded like Santana because the main lick that I wrote, it just kept repeating. So we were over at Two Car Studio and we were trying to work it out, and it just wasn't feeling anything about it. So I said, why don't we try slowing it down? I was like, huh? I said, let's try slowing it down. So we tried slowing it down, and it felt okay. Then we decided, well, let's speed up the middle. So it's a classic 70s song. I mean, I don't know, as my friend Wilbur would say, I just write in that 70s vein. I don't know. I can't help it. Ken used to always kid me about it. He says, man, all your songs are 5-6 minutes. I said, I'm a 70s type guy. All the songs were like 5-6 minutes in the 70s. I'm trying to get better because I would like some airplay, believe it or not. So anyway, that song, Renegade, is another a song that I haven't shot a video for it. I was going to, but things just kind of fell apart. I still would like to do one, but now it's just like not the time. But if you like classic rock stuff from the 70s, that's what this CD is about, really. And half of it is a tribute CD, paying tribute to the bands that I love so much. Now, not all of them are in here because I love Wishbone Ash, and I love King Crimson. At one point when I got married 50 years ago, I wanted to have Lark's Tongue and Aspet Part 2 as the wedding song when we didn't walk down the aisle because we got married in our backyard, but I wanted that to be playing as we got around where the minister was supposed to be. I was thinking Lark's Tongue and Aspet Part 2, the King Crimson song. So Wishbone Ash and King Crimson, I didn't make this cut. But the other, who's to say what's going to happen in the future after I get done this, quote, instrumental CD, which it's not coming easy for me because I'm used to writing around vocals. I find some chords on the piano, I put some words to it, and words lead me to chords, and chords lead me to words. But just to sit down and attempt just to write a completely instrumental CD, it's not as coming as fast as I thought it would be, but I'm still at it. I like to have it over with so I could go back and do some more stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna call it a day for right now. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my new CD. Oh, one thing I have to point out is that I took 2 songs off my Portrait CD, which is, I think, pretty much my favorite CD of all the CDs that I have out. My Portrait CD, I think, is my favorite. And then there's another song on that CD called "Searching for the One" that Dennis Shockett sings. And today, if somebody had some money to want to put behind it, I still think it would be a good top 40 hit. I've actually cut it down in the studio. If that ever happens, I have 2 versions. I have the long version and the 45 version. But that's a song that's got that nice Bad Company groove to it. Thank you, Simon Kirk. And the other song from the Portrait CD that I included on this CD is called "Heartbeat." It's one of my favorite tunes too. So I added them on it. I added those 2 songs on this new CD because I thought it was a little short. I didn't have as much stuff as I would like to, but I'll get them next time. So anyway, my new CD is called "The Whole Shabang." That's another story too. Check it out if you get a chance. Check out the videos on YouTube. John Turner 5858. And I think next week I want to talk about my favorite drummers and what makes a favorite drummer for me. Anyway, guys, I'll see you next time. Take care. God bless.